I took a workshop some years ago with about 100 people, and we had a letting go ritual. And the number one thing that people wanted to let go of was fear. It's probably not surprising to you, but it's interesting. It's very interesting. And today I'll share some viewpoints about fear that may surprise you. Fear is a huge topic, and I could probably give a different talk on it 4 weeks in a row. I was grateful this week for Deanna Barnett's suggestion of this book. This really helped inspire me a little bit. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. And Susan Jeffers defines fear this way: we fear beginnings, we fear endings, we fear changing, we fear staying stuck, we fear success, we fear failure, we fear living, we fear dying. And you know, that's the scope of fear. And it's so true, isn't it? Lately, I realized that fears ebb and flow in my life. And one interesting thing is things I used to be afraid of, much more so, I'm not. For instance, the earthquake the other day. When that happened, so we had a 5.1 earthquake here in San Jose. And when that happened, gosh, when I was younger, I would just freak at the smallest earthquake, and I would stay up all night. I would be so scared. And now I was just, you know, later in my life here, I was just observing. And I wasn't even thinking this is going to, you know, this is going to be the big one, right? Because that's what we used to think. I was just observing, and that's all. So I'm evolving. I used to be afraid to tell people that I can't swim. I was more afraid of telling people I can't swim than I was ever of the water. And I don't know why I was so afraid that someone would find out that I can't swim. Public speaking, I used to be so afraid, even in a room full of friends, or, you know, if there was like a room full of people passing a microphone, I was scared to say a few words. And I've evolved in that way. So how have you evolved in those ways, in your fears? And this world is a place that trains us to be hyper vigilant. Mark Mesidorian uses that word a lot, hyper vigilant. And it's because we're alerted immediately if something disastrous happens, if it's newsworthy. And hypervigilant means that we're always on guard, and that can't be good for our nervous systems. Those of us who watch the news know that, you know, we're always alerted about something that has to do with the environment. We're always alerted, you know, about Ukraine. We're always alerted about the politics. I've got the president texting me, you know, and, you know, seriously, our nervous systems have become wired to be nervous. How ironic that is. And I think that's one of the functions of our nervous system, but for our nervous systems to have this habitual hypervigilance, being wired to be nervous, is not the right use of our nervous system. And why should we be so hypervigilant in our own lives? If, you know, my estimate is that 99.9% of all the things that we fear never happen. And that includes the thoughts, the repetitious thoughts about, oh gosh, this is going to happen, and it doesn't happen. And I was thinking about all the time that we waste in fear, and I wrote this last night. The caterpillar is so afraid of the cocoon. And then it's so afraid of leaving the safety of the cocoon. But what happens next? If it only realized that it would emerge into this beautiful butterfly. So that's kind of a metaphor for so many things in our life. You know, fear can be seen as it's like a doorway. Donna was telling me she fosters dogs, and she said this dog was scared to go through the doggy door, was scared. But one day it realized, oh my gosh, it figured it out, and it realized there was a whole world waiting beyond the doggy door. There was playing, there were squirrels, there was adventure, there was freedom. The dog can go to the bathroom when it wants to go. There was independence. There's all kinds of things. And it didn't have any reason to be afraid of the doggy door. I was thinking about my kind of lifelong fear of public speaking. I got scheduled to speak in front of an audience one time, and I worried from the day they assigned me this big talk that I was going to go at this conference and give a talk. And I was nervous for 2 months, every day. And then walking onto the stage, I got more confident and more confident. And as soon as I said those first words, I was fine. So I'm thinking, boy, those 60 days, all those hours would have, were like kind of stolen from me in a way. And how often does that happen? I'm not sure which Roosevelt said it, but maybe FDR said there was nothing to fear but fear itself. The fear can be scary. The emotion of fear, what we feel in our bodies, the beating of your heart. In Psychology Today, I read that there have been many surveys done that say people fear public speaking more than they fear death. Why is that? Why is that? Because they're afraid of looking stupid. And they say our brain is here to protect us from two things, death and embarrassment. And isn't that interesting? So how many of these fears that we have are related to what other people might think? Sadhguru, I was talking about him a few weeks ago, and I'll remind you what he said. He says that everything in the past is a memory. It's all just the present. And everything in the future is imagination. So fear relies upon our imagination. I talked about my mom earlier, and I was thinking about my mom, how afraid she was of going to assisted living center. For months, she dug her claws in. No, 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 no. I am not going to assisted living beyond my dead body. And she was just obstinate. And one day, she let us take her for a tour. And it wasn't at all what she thought it would be. I don't know, she was envisioning something like out of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or something. She was of that generation, growing up. That's maybe what some of those assisted living centers were like. But the second she toured the place, she said, wow, this is fancy. And she said, I want to go. And from day one, she chose apartment 404. And 4 was her favorite number. And she loved it there. She never, ever, ever regretted and wanted to move back home. So what happened? There were stories in her mind that were totally untrue. And I want to talk about really quickly, why is fear work? Fear work, an important part of self-work, because fear is bad for our health. I could talk on and on about what it does to our bodies. It wastes our time, it zaps our energy, and it shrinks our world. It makes our world smaller and smaller. Some of you may have heard of Sherry Huber. She's a Buddhist author, and she wrote this book called The Fear Book. I highly recommend it. I have about 3 copies of it. And she paints this, there's this illustration of someone's world getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And she says, every time we choose safety, we reinforce fear. When we try to avoid the discomfort we call fear, our world grows smaller and smaller. And then on the other side, there's a picture of a man hiding behind a brick wall. She says, we find ways to avoid people, activities, circumstances, experiences that might cause us to have a reaction we fear. As we grow older, we become afraid more and more. Then we close down, we close off, and our lives shrink. So that's from The Fear Book by Sherry Huber. And there's a statement by Neil Donald Walsh, we're so afraid to die, so we're afraid to live. We're afraid to die, so we're afraid to live. It's interesting, just interesting to think about. But if we address our fears, there is a world waiting for us, like the dog who found the doggy door to be this freeing thing. And with dealing with fear, letting go is important. I'm gonna read something from, I've had this book next to me for weeks, and I realized, oh my gosh, there's something in here that's totally appropriate. Illusions by Richard Bach. And briefly, I'm gonna read this from the beginning of the book. It's about letting go of fear. Richard Bach said that once there lived a village of creatures along the bottom of a great crystal river. The current of the river swept silently over all of these creatures, young and old, rich and poor, good and evil. Each creature, in its own manner, clung tightly to the twigs and the rocks of the river bottom because clinging was their way of life. They resisted the current that each was born flowing in. But one creature one day said, I am tired of clinging. Though I can't see it with my eyes, I trust that the current knows where it's going. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to let this current take me where it will, because clinging, I shall die of boredom. The other creatures looked at this creature and said, fool, if you let go, you are going to be thrown upon the rocks, you're going to get smashed up, and you're going to die quicker than boredom. But that one creature didn't pay attention to them. Taking a breath, the creature let go, but he was tumbled and smashed on the rocks, but he, in time, tried again. And pretty soon, the current lifted him free from the bottom, and he was bruised and hurt no more. And the creatures downstream from the river, to whom he was a stranger, cried, wow, look at this miracle. A creature like ourselves is flying. And they called him a Messiah, and they kept on clinging. That is how Richard Bach opens his book called Illusions. And the message really, it's biblical. Jesus wanted us to do as he did. He didn't want us to say, look, a Messiah. He said, all these things I do, ye shall do, and greater. So that's essentially the biblical lesson of illusions. So I want to talk specifically about a couple of interesting viewpoints of fear and how to address fear. Notice I don't say conquer, and I don't say get rid of. I say address fear. The first is the work of Byron Katie, and it's called The Work, and it's simply 4 questions. If you can apply this to many fear situations. So for instance, afraid of public speaking, I can ask myself, what is it that I'm afraid of? Okay, all right. Let's just assume you're afraid of looking stupid. You're afraid people are going to find out that you're stupid, okay? So Byron Katie says, ask yourself one of these 4 questions. Question number 1, is it true? Is it true that I'm stupid? Question 2, can I absolutely know that it's true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? Question 3 is, how do I react when I believe the thought? How do you react when you believe the thought? In this case, if I believe that I was stupid, what happens for me then? And finally, the 4th question, who would I be without this thought? Who would I be? So that is a helpful, it's a helpful journaling exercise, because each one of those questions can be pages and pages of journaling. It's basically reflecting and opening up the awareness of the fear. Next, fear may be a habit of thought. And there's a whole book, I couldn't find it, I have it here somewhere. There's a book about this. It's about turning the habit of paranoia into something called pronoia. I forgot the author's name. He used to do horoscopes here in the San Francisco Bay Area. He's got a book called Pronoia. But basically it means when fear comes up, instead of thinking, oh no, something awful is going to happen, you think, oh my God, something wonderful is going to happen. Something wonderful is going to happen. So every time you have a thought of paranoia, what happens if you replace it with pronoia? Esther Hicks would say, you should say, wouldn't it be nice if? Wouldn't it be nice if it turned out okay? Wouldn't it be nice if everything turned out more than okay? Wouldn't it be nice if I had the most magnificent day on planet Earth that I've ever had? Wouldn't it be nice if the rest of my evening was the most amazing, peaceful evening full of insight, revelation, and happiness that I've ever had in my entire life? Wouldn't it be? That's pronoia. Next, controversial thought. This is my own. I'll write my own book on this one day. You don't have to face your fears. Thank you, Linda. Rob Bresney, Pronoia. It's a huge book. I just read the cover that says Pronoia. So I will have to read the book. So as I was saying, you don't have to face your fears. Why is it that everyone, we've all heard it, you must face your fears. It's just not true. I think that's one of the things that makes us hypervigilant. No one is going to make you jump out of an airplane. No one is going to make you sleep in a pit of snakes. I don't have to learn how to swim if I don't want to, right? And you don't have to face your fears, but you can choose to address your fears that may be limiting your life in the way that some of these books talk about. So addressing the fear maybe means feel the fear and do it anyways, as Susan Jeffers' book says. Susan Jeffers says that fear is an opportunity to become more powerful in a situation. It's an opportunity to exercise power in a non-egoic way. So just a few more in closing, a few more ideas. This one is another one of mine for my future book. Kill fear with love. Maybe I should reword that. Love fear to death with love. Bring love into the equation in some way. I'll give you an example. I used to coach performers, and I used to give, later on, I would be in the position of giving advice to singers who were new at maybe soloing, and they were nervous. They did it all right during rehearsal, and when they got to the performance, they were nervous. And I said, if you think about loving the message or feeling the emotion about your message, all the technical stuff, all the fears will go away. And it's true. You can't deliver a message that you love and be nervous while you're doing it. I don't think you can. So how else can you bring love in myriad ways to any situation that is fear? Next, the next idea is know that, this is the third one from my book, know that for things that we do have to face, that courage may not be required. Because what do you think of when you think of courage? I have courage. You know, you're getting up all this courage, you're mustering up this thing because you're going to go up against something, right? And I was thinking the other day, there was a black widow in my storage unit. And sort of like just a feeling that I just, you know something, I'm not going to tolerate this black widow. So I killed the black widow. I didn't hesitate. And I just got this little broom and got really close to it, and I just killed it with no fear at all. And I realized at that moment, I wasn't feeling courage. I was just feeling the natural power that comes to me when something has got to get done. Something has to get done, and I'm just stepping into it. Fear didn't enter into it. Struggle didn't enter into it. courage was not necessary. It was like, this spider does not belong here. I'm in conviction. In conviction, maybe is a better word for what we must go to instead of courage. So I hope that some of these ideas resonate with you. I think for the rest, for everything that isn't covered, there's grace. I have a final inspiration about fear that I got from Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It's just a couple of sentences. She says, at the bottom of every one of your fears is simply the fear that you can't handle whatever life may bring you. If you knew you could handle anything that came your way, what would you possibly have to fear? Nothing. Nothing. So all you have to do is diminish your fear. Excuse me. All you have to do to diminish your fear is develop more trust in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Okay, I'm going to read that statement again. At the bottom of every one of your fears is simply the fear that you can't handle whatever life may bring you. If you knew you could handle anything that came your way, what would you possibly have to fear? Nothing. All you have to do to diminish your fear is develop more trust in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. And with that, let's pray. Let's just take a deep breath and come into this place of total trust. A friend of mine once told me, David, God is all in for you. The source energy of your understanding is all in for you. So are you all in for it? Are you all in? If so, there's just no need to worry. So I breathe into this. I breathe into knowing that I can shine a light on whatever it is. And like a ghost, like something that goes bump in the dark, I know if I turn the lights on, what happens? It goes away. And that light is love. That light is love. So whatever I may be fearing, if in doubt, I can just simply ask, how can I bring love to this situation? How can I resolve this? And answers will come. And for all the rest, there's just grace. Grace has us. I'm so grateful for this awareness. I'm grateful for this message, these messages about fear. And so it is.
Man, thanks for that message. That was beautiful. Gave me a lot to think about. Just really quickly, so I don't forget, you guys are asking if that first song it was available. It's not yet, but it will be within the next couple weeks. So keep your peepers peeled for Oh My Soul. This song is available, and it's called Make Peace With It. And the last one I'm going to play is not available, but it will be at the first of the year. So this is all leading to keep your peepers peeled and stay in touch. And thanks again, David. Thank you all for having me. The song's called Make Peace With It. I buried all my pain, my temptation. And I lost the silver lining in a wasteland. Yeah, and everybody told me to be stronger. On the day I can't hold on any longer, I can't hold on any longer. I gotta make peace with it, try to see the grace in it, be a little more patient. Yeah, even when it breaks my heart, I'll grow some kindness, be a light in the darkness. 'Cause if I'm ever gonna live this life, yeah, I gotta make peace with it. Ooh, yeah, I gotta make peace with it. sinking ship. 'Cause all my life I've been running for the hills, somewhere out there, when all I wanted was right here. All I wanted was right here. I gotta make peace with it, try to see the grace in it. I'll be a little more patient. Oh yeah, even when it breaks my heart, I'll grow some kindness. Be a light in the darkness. 'Cause if I'm ever gonna live this life, yeah, I gotta make peace with it. Ooh yeah, I gotta make peace with it. Nobody told me I could change. Nobody told me I could change. Nobody told me I could change. I gotta make peace with it and try to see the grace in it. Be a little more patient. Oh yeah, even when it breaks my heart, I'll grow some kindness. I'll be a light in the darkness. 'Cause if I'm ever gonna live this life, oh yeah, then I gotta make peace with it. If I'm ever gonna live this life, I gotta make peace with it. If I'm ever gonna live this life, I gotta make peace with it. Peace with it all, yeah. All right, this song's called It's All Right. Alright. Oh, these times are changing. The whole world's in a spin. Wherever you land, it's alright, yeah, it's alright. It's alright, child, it's alright. No one can take away your light. So keep on shining, shining bright. It's alright, yeah, it's alright. Spend your whole life fighting for everything you got, and it's enough to make you crazy. It's alright, yeah, it's alright. So don't stop giving the love you give. Don't you give up on me now. There ain't nothing in your way. It's alright, yeah, it's alright. Ooh, it's alright now, it's alright. No one can take away your light. So keep on shining, shining bright. Ooh, it's alright, yeah, it's alright. Can take away your light. So keep on shining, shining.